Hello and welcome again to 5 Minute Friday. This week I have the fabulous Sonja Chartowich, which I had troubles pronouncing because it is actually pronounced exactly as it looks. So, Sonja, thank you for joining me today, and you're very welcome. Sonja has over 20 years experience as an appraiser, and she's also a licensed real estate agent. So she also works as an agent with people in the recent years. So, Sonja, thank you for joining me. If you could give everybody a quick synopsis, who you are, what your market's like, everything that goes on, that would be awesome.
Sure. Yes. Thanks so much for having me, Tricia. It's a pleasure to be here. Like you said, I have been in real estate for over 20 years. I've been an appraiser, and every time I was going on an appraisal, people would wonder, why are you here? You should be an agent. So people constantly recruited me, and I was like, fine, I'll get it. I'll get my sales license, and I'll stick it in my back pocket and use it every once in a while. And I just fell in love with being an agent also. So my unique value that I think I bring to being an agent is, my appraisal experience. And that is something that I can bring to the sellers, knowing ahead of time what their house would appraise for. And then also for buyers, knowing if they're putting in an offer that would be accepted and if they'd have to waive an appraisal.
Perfect. Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing. We were going to talk about the role of the home appraisal, both for the seller and the buyer, and why it's so important. Because this is something a lot of people, when they're, especially if they haven't bought previously, just miss how important this stage is. So if you could,
Mhm.
give a little insight to that, that'd be great.
Yeah. For a seller, a lot of times they want the most bang for their buck. They want to maximize their equity and get the highest price that they can. So a lot of times they want to list their house at a higher price. But I think in the market today, everybody, at least where I am, I'm in New Jersey, so the buyers have an inkling that they have to always go over asking price. No one ever really offers at asking unless the house has been sitting for a while. So in their mind, they already know that they have to offer over, and they think, well, I don't know if this is actually going to appraise. So we kind of try to talk to the seller and let them know, if you want to make sure that your buyer can get the appraisal and the appraisal will come in, then you have to strategically price your house to make sure that the appraisal will come in. Otherwise, you can only accept offers that where they're waiving the appraisal. So that's on the seller's end. And being a licensed appraiser, I could actually even give them an appraisal, like an actual appraisal, and not just a CMA, and let them know exactly what their house would appraise for, or a range at least. And on the buyer side, just when we're putting in an offer, I can tell them, this is what this house would appraise for. This is a range. And if you have to be prepared that if you want to offer over that or beyond that range, then you have to be prepared to come out of pocket with cash to cover that gap.
Yeah, that's the thing that people don't realize when they are putting high bids on a house. Like the appraiser comes in and goes, you're paying the difference,
Mhm.
So that's a big no-no. I have to agree with you. That's great. And you, of course, when you are an agent, you offer those to your clients automatically, which is phenomenal. So a quick question on what are the most common home features that would affect an appraisal? Like what is an appraiser looking at when they're coming up with these things?
So I'll go back to the age old adage of location, location, location. That's the main factor when we're appraising something. When you're looking at a house, it's obviously, you can't say, there's all these fair housing things where you can't say desirable, but everybody knows in their mind. And that's why specific people choose certain neighborhoods. Those are the neighborhoods that they want to be in. They demand a higher value. So that location versus a location next to a power line or on a busy road, or, next to a gas station, like those are obviously going to have lower values. So that's the main thing. So if you're buying in a great location, you don't have to worry about that. And then you can focus on just the specifics of your house, of the property. And it would be just keeping everything well maintained and good quality. So in order to show that difference, I don't know how many people have actually looked at an appraisal, and to see the ratings, we have to rate everything like as a average, good, dated, great, but it's in like a C1 through a C6 kind of rating scale. Pretty much the majority of homes are C4, which are average.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Majority of homes are average, and they standardize those ratings so everybody would be across the board nationwide. There would be like a national average rating, not
Oh,
just like, oh, this is average for the area. It's a national like average rating.
oh, that's fantastic.
Hmm.
So, in your market, what areas would be, the go-to locations? Where would you say buy here, buy small here?
Yeah, there's a lot of good areas. Like if you can get into, I would say, a Summit or Short Hills, or even some areas of Warren, New Jersey. I'm in more central New Jersey. There's plenty of areas in North Jersey that, that's kind of beyond some people's price range to even get in small. But yeah, I would say in Morristown, those are areas that people always want to be in, and they're going to pay for it. So even if you can get in and buy a fixer upper and then stay in it for a while, everybody's kind of wondering what the market's doing right now and where the values are going to go from here. So if you can actually stay in something for a while, I would say maybe like 3 to 5 years, then you would definitely see a return.
See a return. And you mentioned the current markets. How are the current markets influencing the home values right now?
So, I mean, when you do an appraisal, it's always historical because we're looking at the past sales. So whatever has sold is what's influencing the market. So if you have somebody who's, we even look at ones that are pending right now. We don't always look at active listings when we're appraising. We look
Right.
at something that's pending, and we try to call and verify with the agent what the actual contract price is, so we have an idea of what the list to sale percentage is. So we can look at that over the historical time. If you're listing at this price and you're selling at 8% over, then we can note that this pending sale is probably going to be 8% over, and we would adjust. We look at the market and we can make that time adjustment or the market conditions adjustment to help with the value. So that way we don't have to cut a sale price.
Yeah. So
Appraisal.
that's very interesting. And is there a time of the year that people are better off listing their homes? Like, is there some sort of seasonal impact on the appraisal or how your home is going to be valued? Is there anything like that?
That's an interesting question because, as I said, it is historical. We look at past sales. So if you're thinking of listing your home, if you list it in the fall or the winter, you have all of those spring, summer sales to help with your value. If you're listing it in the spring, you are the past sales within those guidelines for the banks, the lenders usually have to be somewhere within 120 days to 6 months. So you're working with sales that might have closed, last September and, through April or through March. So if
Right.
want to utilize the highest values, you can list like late summer, fall, even winter, and you'll get
That's
those strong.
really, really interesting. I have to say that never even dawned on me before. So I'm really glad you brought that up. I would have thought, list at the beginning of the summer because, you've got people or, coming into homes, things like that. But in actuality, it's better for the appraisers towards the end of the summer.
Exactly. Like it's good for sellers to actually get all of the buyers who are coming into the market in the spring, but the houses haven't closed yet. So for the appraisers to utilize those sales, they can't utilize them until they've closed, and then, and then have the abundance of those comps to add to the value of the homes when they're doing the appraisal.
That's just really, I have to be honest, straight up, very insightful. That's
Yeah.
really good to know.
No, I was actually thinking about that before, and I actually thought about that as well. Unless you have, so if you have a very complex home or a very unique home, an appraiser can go back in time, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months if they have to find a comparable sale. So that wouldn't really matter. But if you have like a typical home in a neighborhood, then I would just, wait until at least a few homes have sold so they can, add to that appraisal.
And sell high, hopefully.
Yes, yes. Don't ruin my value.
The winning ingredient, right?
Yes. That's what all my
So,
neighbors hated when I bought my house. They're like,
Sorry?
all of my neighbors hated when I bought my house because I got it at such a different time of market and I got it pretty low. And they're like, you ruined our values.
You ruined our values. But of course, they always swing back. You just have to, like you said, wait.
Yeah.
Time is so important in property and property values. You can't just buy it, and unless you got a fixer up and you're doing it up and then flipping it, that's something else. But for
Hmm.
normal homes, that's not the case.
Right.
So one of the things I love, and for me as a buyer would add value, are energy efficient homes, like things with solar panels, um, energy like underwater heating things and windows. And how do they affect, as an appraiser, when you're looking at a home with all these, energy efficiency things, how does that play into the value of the home?
Yes, so that's actually very interesting going from appraising to taking buyers around to properties. Buyers are interested in those things. Buyers are looking at the age of the furnace, the age of the water heater, the age of the AC, how old are the windows. For the appraiser, to be honest, those are just regular maintenance things. And we go in assuming that the house is functional and the house is working as a habitable home. And we don't even look at the age of those things. So, and
Really?
yeah, I mean, if a listing, because obviously we look at listings when we're putting the comps together, and we might, if it's a high end home, we would call the agent and find out what are the things that sets this home apart and why is it priced so high? And so they'll say, well, it has all new this, all new that, and they'll point out all the energy efficiencies, like some geothermal heating and different things, but those aren't common things that you find in the market a lot of times. So it's hard to actually put a value on it, because you can't extract that really from other home. Like if you've only have one or
Yeah.
two homes in the market that have that. So to be honest, even with solar, there's not a lot of times where we can really put a value or extract that value from the market. So it's interesting that as an appraiser, we don't really put too much credence on those, but
I know, isn't it
buyers
funny?
really do. Yeah.
But a buyer would. Buyer would be like, oh, great, no utility bills, yay me,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
an upgrade.
Yeah. I mean, and I know that a lot of times people kind of steer away from solar when they're buying, because there could be, issues with, transferring it or, removing, or maybe the roof is old and now they have to replace the roof and deal with the whole solar. So sometimes that could be a detraction rather than, a benefit with the energy efficiency.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. When you're doing appraisals, and do you ever request an inspection? If the seller or buyer have done an inspection previously, do you ever have a peek at that, or is that just not something that concerns you?
That's not really anything that concerns us as an appraiser.
That's
And the
great.
less we know, the better.
I was going to say, yay.
Yeah, the less we know, because I mean, again, we go in and we have all these, disclosures that we put in our appraisal. It's just things that we are readily observable. We can see it. As if we don't see it, then we're just basing the value based on what we see.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Win-win.
Mhm, mhm.
So if you're going to give advice to someone who's thinking of putting their home in the market, or maybe not even now, but in a year or 2 years, what would be the best advice you could give them to help them maximize the value of their home? Like, what really should they be paying attention to?
I would definitely everybody always knows kitchens and bathrooms are the major, heavy hitters when you're updating your home. So those always should be, if you're going to put the money in, I would put it into the kitchens and bathrooms. And you want to make sure that it flows with the rest of the house. You don't want to have like, oh, my kitchen and bathroom are beautiful, but the rest of the house is really dated. So even if you just kind of update the paint in the house, just make sure everything looks clean and it flows, that it can elevate your condition rating in the appraisal from a C4, which is average, to a C3, which is good. And we
Interesting.
so C1, I'll just say C1 is new construction. C2 is something that's been built within the last few years. It's not new, but it's newer. Or it could be a home that was torn down or completely gutted and renovated. So that could be a C2. C3 is a home that's renovated. There's still a lot of like the original systems, a lot of like the walls are the same, they haven't rebuilt the house. C4 is basically, I've lived in this home for a long time. I've done a couple of things here and there. I kept it modern, but not updated, and then C5 is, my grandma lives in this house, and she doesn't
even like it.
She doesn't do much, but she just likes it. It's livable. And then C6 is something that's like torn down, like you need to tear it down. Like you can't live in there. So that's why I said, like, if you can elevate your condition rating from a C4 to a C3, then that will maximize, the appraiser can then make an adjustment for condition. You can also do, for quality, you can add crown molding, or chair railing, just little things like that, or even increase the moldings around your windows, like from an old one to like a bigger one. Any kind of little details like those things can increase, the quality rating.
That's a really good little tip. I would never have thought about those things.
Yeah, even if you just add, like, there's like a little strip that you can add to the extra, molding, just to make it look a little bit wider, then we think, oh, you have nicer moldings.
That's a great tip. I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a go-to on everybody's budget, right?
Yep. And I would say, this is my tip. It's if you don't want to do anything to your house, but you have to get an appraisal, I hate to say it, but a lot of appraisers are lazy. Not me, of course, but they don't. When I was trained by one of the best, and they told us to walk into the room, walk every corner, open every single door, look in every corner, up at the ceilings, the walls, the floors, open every door, any closet door, anything, and just look. A lot of times the appraisers will stand in the doorway, take their picture, and then go to the next room, take their picture, and then so they don't walk through the room. So you could hide stuff in your closet. You could stick stuff behind your door. You could stick stuff on the wall over here that you can't see when they take the picture.
I'm actually hoping if the home is for sale, those things are cleared out already, right?
Yes, but I'm an appraiser, they've already done the listing photos. They've already done all of this stuff. The appraiser's coming in after they've moved everything back in and they're living and they're trying to move. And a lot of times they're seeing multiple properties on the same day and they can't remember. So they really rely on those pictures to jog their memory when they're going back.
Oh my God, that's really good. That's really good advice. I know we're going over. I just have like one more question for you. And it's based on what we just discussed. So you're with Compass, and Compass offer their clients a concierge program. And for those people who don't know, the concierge program basically gives you money as a seller upfront to improve your home, and then it comes off the closing costs. But generally, it really boosts the sales price, and it really boosts the interest in using this program. It's a great program. So say I'm selling my home and I have a very small budget, and I'm not using concierge. I just have my own little budget. And I can only afford to do the bathrooms or the kitchen. Where's my money going?
The kitchen.
Kitchen.
Yeah, I'd say the kitchen.
And kitchen with like modern marble, or that crushed type of, I can't remember
granite.
What it's called. It's not even granite. It's like crushed stone altogether, and they're using it, and it looks like granite, but it's not.
Okay, you could just replace the countertops, and if you have like an older kitchen, like paint your cabinets, just replace the countertops, get new appliances.
That's it.
Yeah, and paint. Paint changes everything.
Paint does change everything. It's unbelievable the difference a good lick of paint can do. Well, Sonja, thank you so much. I'm going to put on your details here for anyone who wants to reach out. Sonja is in the New Jersey market. She works with Compass. She's a real estate agent with Compass, but she's also a very, very savvy appraiser, and her clients avail of this as a seller and buyer. So, Sonja, thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed this. I know we're over time, but you know what? Sometimes it's just worth it. My 5-minute Fridays are never 5 minutes anyway. So it's just worth having that great chat. And I think you gave people great advice there.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Tricia. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay, you too.